Are you prepping for an Angular technical interview? Good. Let's talk about how to level up your game, how to go from answers that are just good to explanations that are truly great, the kind that make you stand out. Let's get right into it.
So let's start with a question I think we've all asked ourselves at some point. Why do really smart, capable developers, people who know their stuff, sometimes completely bomb a technical interview? You've built the apps, you've solved the problems, so what gives?
Well, here's the secret, and it's simpler than you think. It's not just about what you know. It's about how you explain what you know. It's about showing your thought process, your deeper understanding of the why. That's the real game changer.
Okay, with that in mind, let's start with the absolute fundamentals. We're going to look at some core Angular concepts and break down how you can take a basic, correct answer and turn it into a senior-level explanation that's going to impress. All right, picture this. You're in the interview, and they lean in and ask this classic. So, can you explain Angular change detection? This is one of those first questions they use to get a read on you. How do you knock it out of the park?
So a good answer states the obvious. Angular updates the view when data changes. Fine. But a great answer? That explains the how and, more importantly, the why it matters. You'd mention that by default, Angular checks the entire component tree, which, can be a performance hog. And then you immediately offer the solution, the OnPush change detection strategy. The simple idea to tie it all together is this. Think of Angular constantly running around, asking every single component, hey, did anything change? Did anything change? With OnPush, you're telling it to calm down and only ask the components that actually need to be checked. It's about being efficient.
Okay, next up, another absolute cornerstone of the framework. It seems simple on the surface, but there's a lot of depth here. So the question is, what is dependency injection?
A good answer is technically correct. You use it to inject services into components. Yep, but a great answer elevates this by framing dependency injection as a powerful design pattern. It's a system Angular gives you to make your code more reusable, more modular, and way easier to test. And the analogy? It's perfect. Imagine you want a cup of tea. Instead of having to find the tea bags, boil the water, and make it yourself every single time, someone just hands you a perfect cup of tea. That's DI. It provides the dependencies, the things you need right when you need them.
All right, let's pivot to our next question. This one is all about making your app feel snappy right from the get-go. What is lazy loading?
See, a good answer is just, it loads a module later. True, but so what? Why does anyone care? A great answer connects this feature directly to the user experience. You explain that by loading feature modules only when a user navigates to them, you dramatically reduce the initial bundle size and improve the app's first load time. The simple idea is just plain common sense. Downloading a huge file all at once is slow, downloading little pieces as you need them is fast. You have to link the technical feature to the real-world benefit.
Okay, we've covered the basics. Now let's shift gears and dive into performance. This is where you really get to show your experience. This is how you start thinking and talking like a senior developer. I love this question. It's a fantastic follow-up. It's one thing to know what a tool is for, but a true expert knows its limitations. It shows you've been in the trenches. So, when is OnPush actually a bad idea?
You definitely want to reach for OnPush when performance is critical and, this is key, you're working with immutable data. That just means you're creating new objects instead of changing existing ones. But you want to avoid it when you have components with really dynamic internal state. Think complex reactive forms, or when you're working with legacy code that directly mutates objects. Knowing when not to use a popular optimization, that shows real maturity.
Okay, this one is critical. Memory management is one of the biggest signs of a disciplined professional developer. One unmanaged subscription can bring an app to its knees.
Look, the standard answer is unsubscribe and ng destroy. And yeah, you should. But a senior developer talks about best practices that prevent the problem from even happening. It's about being proactive, not reactive. You should immediately mention using the async pipe, which handles the whole subscribe/unsubscribe lifecycle for you automatically. Or talk about a robust pattern like take until for cleaning up multiple subscriptions at once. This shows you've dealt with complexity.
This question zeroes in on a super common performance bottleneck in pretty much any Angular app, rendering big lists of things.
Saying it's for performance is a good start, but it's way too vague. A great answer explains how it improves performance. You'd explain that without trackBy, if a list changes, Angular might just destroy and recreate every single item in the DOM. With trackBy, you give Angular a unique ID for each item, so it can tell which items are new, which were removed, and which just moved around, only updating what's absolutely necessary. The analogy makes it click instantly. Why would you repaint a wall that's already the right color? trackBy tells Angular what not to repaint.
Now for the big picture, the diagnostic question. This isn't about one feature. It's about your entire problem-solving process. There isn't one single right answer, but there is absolutely a right way to approach it. A senior developer responds with a system, a checklist. They don't just start guessing. They'd say, first, I check for excessive change detection cycles to see if Angular is just working too hard. Then, I look for components that are re-rendering when they don't need to. I'd analyze the bundle size with a tool to find lazy loading opportunities. And finally, I'd profile the network tab for slow API calls. See? It's a structured, methodical approach. That's what they want to see. All right, let's move into our next section and tackle something that can be a tough spot in interviews, asynchronous programming, and specifically RxJS. But you know what? Mastering this is a massive advantage. Of all the hundreds of RxJS operators, this is probably one of the most common and most important ones to really understand for building real-world apps. So, what is switchMap?
A good answer might say it maps a value to an inner observable, which, okay, technically true, but the great answer explains its killer feature. It cancels previous pending requests. And you have to give the perfect use case. Think of a search bar, where a user is typing really fast. You don't want the search results for A, then app, then app. You only care about the results for their final word, Apple. SwitchMap is perfect for this because it automatically cancels the old, outdated API requests as new ones come flying in.
So, after going through all of these examples, from change detection to RxJS, what's the common thread? What's the real lesson here? It's all about adopting a certain mindset.
At the end of the day, a technical interview isn't just a pop quiz. It's a demonstration. It is your chance to show the interviewer how you think, how you break down complex problems, and how clearly you can explain concepts to a teammate. Most importantly, it's about proving that you don't just know the what, you deeply understand the why.
And so I'll leave you with this final thought to guide you as you prepare. Don't just aim for answers that are correct, aim for explanations that are compelling, that are clear, and that confidently showcase your expertise, because that is the difference between a good developer and a great hire. Good luck.